Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome to our coffee times. Today, I was thinking, what can I talk to you guys about today? So I remembered that I just got the new Stephen King book in the mail. It is called If It Bleeds, and it's a compilation of 4 short stories. And I started thinking about Stephen King and his stories, and I realized that one of the things that he likes to do in order to write himself into his own stories is to add a character that is a writer. It is not uncommon to find writers in Stephen King's most popular but also in not so well-known stories. So I thought I would make a quick video on horror movies that include authors.
It's coffee time.
Writers are a perfect type of character for horror movies because sometimes they become so obsessed about their stories that they start hallucinating sometimes. And also authors are people that tend to be very lonely, like they tend to keep away from other people, they tend to be distant, and also they get a lot of rejection a lot of the time, so they are a little bit more kind of tormented characters, and it is the perfect setting for a horror story. Let's quickly just go over 3 of the most well-known Stephen King stories that have writers in them, and then we will go to the other 5 that I wanted to mention that you might not know about. Of course, we're going to start with The Shining from 1980, where we have a frustrated writer, Jack Torrance, that agrees to go over winter to take care of the Overlook Hotel with his family. He thinks, getting there, being completely cut off from society, from the world, is going to help him with his writing. However, he starts to experience some visions of ghosts inside the Overlook Hotel, and we all know how that went down. Let's move on with Misery from 1990, in which we have a writer called Paul Sheldon. He writes romantic novels, and he's on his way with his car during a blizzard, and he has an accident, and lucky for him, one of his #1 biggest fans, Annie, takes care of him, and it starts to turn a little bit scary when she gets really mad at him because she finds one of the manuscripts for one of his future novels, and she realizes he's going to kill off one of her favorite characters. I think this is an amazing movie. I love Kathy Bates so much, and this is a great story about the power of books and how people can get so obsessed with the characters and love them so much that they would do anything to keep them alive. And the last one from Stephen King that I would like to mention is one that maybe not everybody knows, that is based on a story by Stephen King, and that is A Secret Window from 2004. It is based on a novella by Stephen King called Secret Window, Secret Garden, and this one we have Johnny Depp that plays the main character, which is this frustrated writer that he just caught his wife cheating on him with one of his friends, and so he decides to go to this cottage to try to write something because he has writer's block, and he has been postponing finalizing the divorce. He's heavily depressed, and then one day a stranger comes to visit. So John Shooter comes looking for Mort, which is our main character, and he blames him from stealing his own story. So he brings with him a manuscript of a story called Secret Window, which is what Mort is writing, and he realizes it's actually the same story, it's just the ending is different. I really enjoyed this story. It's more kind of like a psychological thriller with splashes of horror, but I really enjoyed the story. So for the other 5 movies that are thriller / horror and include an author, a writer as a character, I have really dug deep into the past, and the first movie that we're going to talk about, it is actually from the 60s. We have Castle of Blood from 1964. This is a classic atmospheric black and white movie. We're following Adam. He is a journalist for the London Times, and he wants to interview Edgar Allan Poe after he has read his horror tales, because he wants to know where he gets his inspiration from. And Edgar Allan Poe tells him, bruh, these things happen for real to me. I see these things. And so he invites the journalist to go with him to spend the night at a haunted castle to show him what happens at night. Really cool, really atmospheric. This is a really great classic if you want to check out a classic horror story. Next we have Images from 1972. We have here a psychological thriller about an author that writes children's books. So this woman is trying to finish this book, so she decided to go to this house and lock herself there and see if she can finish the book. But then she starts to get this kind of schizophrenic hallucinations while she's trying to finish the book. Another one that is kind of like an oldie but goodie, so if you have not checked this one out, you might want to give it a try. The next one from 1991 is Barton Fink. This is more of a thriller, but I wanted to mention it because it's a great story. We have Barton Fink. He decides to go to Hollywood because he wants to become a writer for the movies. So Capitol gives him the assignment of writing a script for a wrestling movie because he's good knowing the streets. And he is kind of a struggling writer. He's having trouble to write. And we also have in this movie a haunted hotel, and there is many hints to The Shining. And the Coen brothers themselves, they said that they wrote this movie about a writer's block to actually get over their own writer's block, and I think it is a great story. So if you have not given this one a chance yet, you might want to try. Next, from 2012, we have Sinister, a movie that I really loved. And we're following the story here of a writer that, you know, his first novel, Kentucky Blood, was super popular. He writes crime books, and he's having trouble to find, you know, the inspiration for the next big book. And he decides to move with his family to this house that apparently, you know, terrible things happen in there. Looking for inspiration, that's a great idea. Just drag your family there with you. And he finds in the attic a box of Super 8 film with really creepy, more disturbing things than what he would have expected to find in that house. And the last one that I would like to mention is Hush from 2016, because this one is quite different, because we have here a writer that lives in isolation by herself in a house in the middle of the woods, but the twist is that she's deaf. So when she's there in her isolation and somebody comes and tries to get into the house, like a home invasion situation, she has to fight for her life in silence. And these were my recommendations for thriller/horror stories that include writers, all types of them. We have novel writers, we have journalists, we have children's books writers, we have somebody that writes scripts for movies. So there is something for everybody in this list. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know down below if you know of any other films like these ones that include a writer, an author, or anything like that. Let's talk about it in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up for support, and if you want to follow me on the social media, the links as always down below, and I hope to see you all in the next copy time. Bye!